You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. And take a look at my other YouTube channels too. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything I release. All links are in the description. In this podcast, Trump is dealing with criminal fraud charges, and MAGAland has gone completely off the rails. It's fascinating and hilarious to watch at the same time. A few years ago, somebody at a Charlie Kirk rally asked when it would be time to pull out the guns and attack leftists. He condemned it at the time because he said it made them look bad. Let's see how he feels now. There's been a bizarre right-wing fascination with furries for who knows how long. Let's talk about the origins and follow the thread clear through to today. Where did this come from, and why are people still talking about it? We also take voicemails. If you want to leave a voicemail, the number is 1-800-701-8573. Also, check out my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, and its companion, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses. Those can be found on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, owenmorgan.com/book, and pretty much anywhere books can be found. This is senators in Arizona praying in tongues.
We just released the presence of the Lord in the Senate chamber. We just released the hovering glory.
You may not be able to fully make out what all of them are saying because they're praying in tongues. They're just speaking gibberish mostly. I think there's one person who is speaking normally and praying. Early April 2024, they were praying the day before the Supreme Court of Arizona decided that the 1864 law stands and that abortion is completely banned. 100% completely banned. They were praying for that ban to take place. And it happened. Absolutely insane. But I got some voicemails talking about it, so I want to listen to what others had to say and see if they can add some insight.
Hey, this is Dave from Indiana, and I just wanted to say thank you real quick for, covering the people that you do. And I've been trying to keep up a little bit with it myself because I think it's important to know what these people are saying. For example, Robin Bullock, I'd seen earlier that he had put out a video claiming a prophetic success about, the people in Arizona speaking in tongues. And
I didn't see the Robin Bullock clip talking about the speaking in tongues clip. That speaking in tongues clip was actually pretty hard for me to find, surprisingly. I would have thought it'd be all over the place. By the way, just a quick reminder, if you want any of the clips I ever cover, I'm not selling you anything. They're accessible at owenmorgan.com/clips. I maintain a Dropbox there where you can get them. I don't upload them every week reliably, but every month or two I upload them in a big tranche. Keep listening to the voicemail.
The Senate or whatever it was, and saying that, oh look, God fulfilled this promise. God did this, completely ignoring that he's been pushing this for years and, cramming this down the throats of his followers.
Yeah, people thank God for the hits and blame Satan for the misses every single time.
And it's just horrible to see, and it makes me feel a lot better knowing that people like you or him at Meta or whoever brings this to people's attention, and it's really shown me that this stuff has to be put out. We have to know what's going on, and hopefully people will see it and want to push back against it.
Yeah, I appreciate the voicemail. Completely agree. We need to put this information out there and push back against it. We have to push back against it. There's something called the Overton window. It's the window of acceptable public discourse, basically. So right now we're talking about whether minimum wage should be $15 an hour. 15 years ago or 20 or 30 years ago, we were talking about $10 being minimum wage. $10 an hour was a lot back 30 years ago. Or right now we're talking about single payer health care, or we're talking about like socialized medicine or whatever. We're getting rid of insurance companies. That's within our Overton window. But communism isn't in the Overton window. We're not talking about communism or socialism. Nobody is talking about those things. There are some people that talk about them, but serious political circles do not take those ideas seriously. So anyway, the more insane stuff that Robin Bullock says, or that you catch the Arizona State Senate doing, the crazier stuff you catch these people saying and doing, the further to the right the Overton window reaches. So we need to push back against it and push it back toward the left, or at least back toward not as far right as it is. Absolutely insane.
Hi, Owen. This is Jackie from Washington State. I'm listening to your podcast that you just uploaded on Spotify.
Yeah, I upload podcasts, just audio versions on everything. Spotify, CastBox, YouTube. It even goes up on Fireside Chat. Goes up everywhere, SoundCloud and all that. Once a week on Monday, if you're curious. 5 a.m. on Monday it releases.
I don't know, very recently, I believe. And I literally hit pause just so I could call you. You were talking about the phrase Christ is King when you were talking about Nick Fuentes, and you were saying that Christ is King is like a dog whistle.
Yes, Christ is King is a dog whistle, definitely.
And to anti-Semites, basically.
It's a dog whistle to, yeah, you could say it's a dog whistle to anti-Semitism, yes.
I'm not sure where you got that from, because that phrase has been around for a very, very, very long time. Christ is King has been used in, Christian hymns for a very long time. It is like a very, very common phrase used in within the Christian faith. It is not something that Nick Fuentes came up with on his own at all. Just wanted to call you really quick and let you know that. Love the show. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call. I just want to point out, like a dog whistle, like a literal physical dog whistle. It's a whistle you put up to your mouth and you blow on it, and nobody can hear it. Like humans can't hear it because it's too high pitched, I think. But dogs can hear it all over. It's very, very loud. A dog whistle in speech is something that is common, something that people hear all the time, and they don't think anything of it when they do. But the right demographic, the right group of people catches on to what's being said. They understand. So Christ is King, used in a ton of hymns. He didn't, Nick Fuentes didn't come up with it at all. It's been around for like hundreds of years or longer, 1,000 maybe, who knows, 2,000. It's been around since forever. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. But that's the thing. Nick Fuentes is playing the dog whistle and you're not hearing it because you're a human standing here. But Fuentes' crowd is hearing it and catching on to what he's saying. Now, as a Christian, somebody can say Christ is King, and it's, it's fine. It doesn't mean anything. It's fine, Doesn't mean that you're like an anti-Semite or anything. When Nick Fuentes uses it, it is an anti-Semitic thing. Let me just show you one example. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene showing up at AFPAC. This is Nick Fuentes' political action committee. It's called America First. America First Party, by the way, was originally founded in the 30s or the 40s, I think. It was created by a guy who was sympathetic to the Nazis, and he wanted to keep America from joining into the war. He wanted to be isolationist because he thought maybe if America stayed out of it, Hitler would have a fighting chance to win the war against Britain and the USSR and everything else. So America First is another dog whistle. It's a perfect example. When somebody says America First, you or whoever might hear, we need to put our country first. We need to worry about us. We need to stop giving like foreign aid to these countries or whatever. But when the right person hears it, they understand what it means. So listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking at the America First Political Action Conference 2022. This is late February.
My name is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I am the daughter of the King, the one true living God, the Alpha, the Omega, our Father in heaven, and I am a forgiven sinner, washed in the blood of our Savior, Jesus Christ.
I don't know what their obsession is with blood and being washed in it. It's so weird. Oh, listen closely.
Praise God. Amen. Christ is King.
So, I don't know that Marjorie Taylor Greene caught on to that dog whistle. She may be as oblivious as anybody else, but this whole event was full of dog whistles. America First Political Action Conference and Christ is King being shouted from the crowd are two massive dog whistles screaming in people's faces. Here's another dog whistle saying urban areas are unsafe. People who live in urban areas are unsafe. It's a dog whistle for black people, though white people also live in urban areas. Though white people have made up the majority of urban areas, i.e. cities. White people made up the majority of cities since forever. The word urban has existed since forever, but when politicians talk about urban areas being hotbeds of crime and hellscapes, the dog whistle that the politician is communicating to a very specific audience is that black people are ruining America. Now, you know what? Maybe that politician is being honest and honestly didn't know that was a dog whistle. I suppose that's possible. But there are an awful lot of dog whistles from politicians nowadays. Like, a lot. It's weird. So Christ is King is a normal phrase to you, and you should feel free to continue to say it. Don't stop saying it because you think it might be anti-Semitic. When you say it, it's not. But when Nick Fuentes says it, it is. He knows his audience, and they know him. Next up, Trump is dealing with criminal fraud charges, and MAGAland has gone completely off the rails. It's fascinating and hilarious to watch at the same time. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description.
See, the problem is Jumanji Jungle, Judge Jumanji Jungle lips. The problem with it is this, because what's coming out of her lips is monkey sense.
This is Shane Vaughn, Pastor Shane Vaughn, if you're unfamiliar. He's a Trump pastor. I don't mean that he's a pastor that likes Donald Trump. I mean he's a pastor of a Trump church, effectively. Now, I did this whole series about him last week. I'm not even going to bother going down this road, but I wanted to show you this clip specifically from him because this is the one that got him into some hot water, right? This is him calling Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, a monkey. One of the most racist things that I think I've heard in a while, and I've heard some doozies. It was so bad, I called him out. It was so bad that he apologized and named me and thanked me and said, I really appreciate you calling me out. You're right. I shouldn't have said that, so on and so forth.
You have every right to be offended. That was unacceptable. And I'm asking every one of you to forgive me if you can find it in your heart to do so.
Like, oh my God, dude, what does it take to get a Trump supporter or a Trump pastor, honestly, a Trump pastor, to apologize for something they said? I guess It takes calling black people monkeys, apparently. Like, Jesus, dude. But by the end of the apology, it was pretty clear that he didn't understand the problem in the first place. Listen to the very end of his apology here.
I still think she talks monkey talk. I still think that she's ignorant, dumb, and should not be wearing a robe and should be living in the jungle as Judge Jumanji, okay? But her physical appearance, off limits.
You didn't get anything, did you, Shane? Like, you're just lost, aren't you? You have no clue what's going on around you. Do you know what you were apologizing for? Apparently he doesn't, it seems to me. But you know what? Hey, okay. Maybe it was just like a slip of the tongue again. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt again. That benefit of the doubt did not last long because, like, the very next, in fact, it may have been on, same shirt. I think it was on the same stream or the same day or something. He had some things to say about Joyanne Reed. If you don't know Joyanne Reed, she's on MSNBC, I think. Anyway, listen to this. By the way, all these clips happened mid-April 2024.
Now, y'all got to watch this little, I got to watch my mouth here because when I can talk about anybody unless they black. Okay.
You can talk about anybody. No one is off limits. Criticize anybody you want. I criticize black people all the time. Check this out. I'll do it now. Watch. Hey, how about that? I already have it pulled up. Isn't that's super coincidental that I already had this guy pulled up. Okay, check this out. Jesse Lee Peterson talking about white supremacy.
I used to think that when they used that word, white supremacy, it was a negative word. But now I realize what they're thinking is that, and it's true, by the way, that white men are smarter than them, superior to them. And instead of learning, oh, hey, how did you become so superior? They want to destroy it so that they won't be reminded how dumb they are. And so they're dumbing everybody and everything down rather than coming up to the level of white supremacy.
This guy is dumb as, you know what? I'm not that guy. I'm not the dude that's always insulting people. I will let our old buddy Shane Vaughn do it for me.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
Or my friend Greg Locke.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas. Facebook just makes people think I'm smart.
The point is, I'm not afraid of criticizing black people or white people or Asian people or whatever. You can criticize anybody you want. You can talk about anybody you want. That's not the problem, Shane. Do you understand what the problem even is? Apparently not. Certainly not based on the last thing that he said in his apology.
I still think she talks monkey talk. I still think that she's ignorant, dumb, and should not be wearing a robe and should be living in the jungle as...
He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. It gets even worse with Joyanne Reed, if you can believe it. All right, keep listening to what he said here about her.
I got to watch my mouth here because when I can talk about anybody unless they black. Okay. Y'all got to watch this. Don't call it no jungle bunny. Let's see.
It's so stupid, it's painful.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
For those of you who don't know or didn't hear, he used a slur. Now, I'm one of those people who feels that it's okay to use a slur in certain contexts, like explaining to people what the slur is. In fact, I think it's important to say it so that people are aware that it is a slur. He called her a jungle bunny. I don't remember the origins of that term, but it's a term that Archie Bunker used to use all the time in the 1980s. And it is one of the more racist. It's like one step below the N-word. It's bad. Same with the word jigaboo, which is a word that Donald Trump alludes to regarding the prosecutor in his case. She's black. I don't remember her name. Anyway, calls her Peekaboo James. It's very obvious what he's talking about. Letitia James, that's the name I was trying to think of. Now, those two terms, jigaboo and jungle bunny, will get in the, if you're using them in the wrong context and you're around the wrong people, you will get your ass kicked for saying that stuff, for real. And what did Shane Vaughn do? Literally, like, immediately after apologizing for being racist, complained that he can't talk about black people, and then said this.
Y'all got to watch this. Don't call it no jungle bunny. Let's see. Y'all got to watch this. Let's go with the wig. How about that?
Dude, he learned nothing. He learned absolutely nothing. Let's go with the wig, he said. How about that?
Y'all watch this blonde wig head. Y'all got to watch this. Now,
why don't you just say this fool if you feel that way, or dummy, or watch this person or woman or what? Like, there's so many characteristics about this person that you could have picked. Blonde-headed wig makes absolutely no sense. And it's clear to me that all he wants to do is zero in on her race. That's like all he knows how to do. Seriously. Can you think of nothing other than people's race? Is that like all they are to you? You know, race is fake, right? There's one race, the human race. Back in the, I think, 1800s, maybe, there was a belief that there were three races. The Caucasoid, which is Caucasians, white people. Caucasoid, the Negroid, which is black people, and the, what was the other one? The Mongoloid, East Asian people, basically. And it was invalid then because it's just complete nonsense. What the hell is a race? Do you mean species? Well, we're all the same species. We can all interbreed and create fertile offspring. Race is fake. The only reason that race exists as a concept is to discriminate against people. That's it. There are people with more melanin in their skin and less melanin in their skin. There are people with dark hair and light hair, blue eyes and green eyes and brown eyes. There are people of all different types. Separating people by the amount of melanin in their skin is just as ridiculous as separating them by blue eyes and green eyes. Seriously, it's just as stupid. But for some reason, all this guy can focus on is her, melanin in her skin. The only reason it exists is to discriminate.
Let's see. Y'all got to watch this. Let's go with the wig. How about that? Y'all watch this blonde wig head. Y'all got to watch this. Now, I can't talk about them like that because I get in trouble. Let me see. You can talk about anybody in the world. But anyway.
You can talk about anybody in the world, and I do. I talk about anybody, literally anybody. No one is off limits to criticism. But you know what I don't do? I don't call people jungle bunnies, for example. I don't do that. I don't refer to them as monkeys the way that he did Ketanji Brown Jackson in the beginning. Jesus Christ, dude, what is wrong with you? Shane, he called me out personally, said, I want to thank Owen Morgan for pointing out the problems and blah, blah, blah. Shane, if you're listening, bro, stop looking at race. Why are you doing this? Like, I have so many problems with this guy, not just with race, but with the LGBT community, with the trans community specifically, and with a whole bunch of other things. And the conspiracy theories that he has about Easter and QAnon and Trump and blah, blah, blah. I have so many problems with this guy. But why are you doing this? Why are you zeroing in on this race thing?
But anyway, they can talk about me all day long. They can call me, look, they can still frame my face where, you can do anything you want to a white man.
He's acting like he's persecuted because he's a white man. I can do anything I want to anybody. I just choose not to be a scumbag. Look, here's the thing. I'm not offended by anything you say or do, Shane. It's literally impossible for Shane to offend me. I just recognize you as the scumbag that you are, is all. If you don't want to be viewed as a scumbag, don't do scumbag. See how it works? Anyway, that thing he mentioned, the still frame like this, I don't do that, ever. In my opinion, that's kind of a propagandistic method of talking about somebody or framing up a discussion about somebody. I always try to find honest pictures of people, honest screen grabs of people. And I don't want to do this, what he's referring to here. See, here's, I'll just go through a few of the screen grabs I did for some recent thumbnails. Tony Morris, he's not going, it's not like some crazy face. Here's Shane Vaughn. But the thing is, when you're dealing with video, I always take screen grabs from videos, and anywhere in a video that you click, it's going to look really ridiculous. That's the nature of interlaced video, because, it's creating the image and then keeping it in reserve behind it, and then it blends into the next image and puts the next one up, and then, pulls up the next one, and it keeps doing that over and over to try to give it like a smoother image. And as a result, it just like literally anywhere you click, the person looks ridiculous. And that goes for me too. That's just the nature of still frames or video footage. Like, just look at this one, for example, right here. Hang on. This is Phil Arms talking about how evil dancing is all the way in 1989. I can click anywhere and he has a ridiculous looking face. See? Literally anywhere along the way, he has a stupid look on his face. That's just how film works. But I really try not to do that. It's about ideas, not people.
Anything you want to a white man. Anything you want to. But you can't say nothing.
Well, I guess he's just offended at the claim that he's not allowed to criticize people's looks. It's looks that he wants to criticize. In fact, it's not criticism. He wants to make fun of the way that people look. And one of the targets of his attacks is their skin color. What's wrong with you, Shane? Really? Do you not get it? Is it just like it not penetrating that thick skull or what?
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
To be fair, that clip is out of context, but I feel it applies pretty well. Now, that's not actually the point of this video that I wanted to do. There's more about this video that I wanted to address. Anyway, here's the real point that I wanted to get to. Shane Vaughn addressed the fact that Donald Trump is facing down some criminal charges right now. He's got, 91 felonies or something like that. I don't remember who it is. Alvin Bragg, is he the one that's charging Trump with these felonies now? I think it is. I think it's Alvin Bragg. Anyway, the jury has been set in the case, and Shane Vaughn has an idea for how Trump can get out of this legal mess that he's found himself in with these 91 felonies. By the way, people say it's over hush money payments. That's not really what it's over. I feel like that downplays its importance. There are strict and stringent laws about campaign finance and how you spend your campaign money. You can't just go blow it on whatever you want. Madison Cawthorn, for example, was taking donations for his primary race and for his general race, and he took the money from his general race that he raised from the general and spent it on his primary race. Like he spent it on advertising for his primary and then lost. Well, guess what? If you lose your primary race, you have to refund everybody that donated to your general election fund. Campaign finance laws are very, very strict, and they are real in the United States. Donald Trump used campaign money that was donated to him for his campaign fund. He used that money to pay Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about the affair that he had with her. And he got around, the campaign finance rules by having Michael Cohen, his fixer, his second in command, his lawyer. He had him take out a mortgage on his house and pay Stormy Daniels with his own money. And then Trump gave him a raise, if you will, gave Cohen a raise, quote unquote, until all of that money was paid back to Cohen with some interest or whatever. So ultimately, Donald Trump used campaign funds. He committed fraud to use campaign funds in an illegal way. That's what this is really about. It's a fraud case. It's not a hush money case. But Shane Vaughn has some input on it. So let's hear what he has to say here.
You need one juror that does the right thing, and it shuts all the other jurors down, because in a criminal verdict, it has to be unanimous. So I tell you how I'm praying, saints. I'm praying whoever right now in jury selection, listen to me by the Spirit of God.
By the Spirit of God.
We need to be praying right now. The will of God on earth as it is in heaven. By the way, if you've not heard my latest sermon on prayer, you need to go watch it at
No, thank you.
FHTV.tv. Anyway, we need to begin praying for that juror.
Yeah, because prayer, of course, solves all problems. You know, those kids that are literally starving to death in Africa right now, like as we speak right now, there's a kid that has been kicked out of his village because he doesn't have, they don't have enough food to feed him. And he is sitting outside the door starving to death as you're watching this right now. And there are people praying for that kid, like a lot of people. But he's still going to die. But you know what? You lose your car keys, say a prayer, and you'll find him, just like that. Donald Trump commits fraud, campaign finance fraud, gets caught, and then charged with a crime. God will answer all these people's prayers by putting a juror on the jury who will commit jury nullification, is what it's called.
That juror. For that one person that y'all will touch their heart because they can mess up the whole thing.
It sounded like he was saying y'all can touch his heart. No, he's saying Yah, like Yahweh can touch his heart.
One person. That's the power of the U.S. justice system. For a guilty verdict, it has to be everyone on that jury has to be in agreement. Your job, let's begin to pray. During jury selection this week and next week, we are the army of the Lord. You and I are the army of the Lord. And I am believing God. I'm not prophesying and I'm not predicting, but I am declaring by faith.
Well, what's the difference? Declaring by faith? How is that different from prophesying? I don't understand.
Not guilty or mistrial. I'll take either one.
If there was one person that held out on the jury, it would be a mistrial. It would not be an acquittal. I don't remember what an acquittal requires. For felony charges, as Trump is facing here, for felony charges, there must be 12 jurors and up to 6 alternates chosen. For misdemeanor charges, there must be only 6 jurors and up to 4 alternates chosen. A unanimous guilty verdict yields a conviction. All 12 people have to be in complete agreement that the person's guilty. And a unanimous not guilty verdict results in acquittal. Okay, so all 12 have to say no. Otherwise, it's a mistrial, it looks like. Unanimous not guilty means you're acquitted of the crime, even if you committed it, even if you walk out of the courthouse and you admit to it openly as you walk out the front door, yes, I murdered that person or whatever. The double jeopardy applies. You cannot be tried again, no matter what. It doesn't matter. That is if you're found not guilty. If you are found guilty, it must be all 12 jurors. They all have to agree. Complete unanimity. If it's not unanimous one way or another, then it's a mistrial, which means the prosecutor has the option of charging the person again and getting a new jury and going through the entire process all over again. So mistrial is not really ideal for Donald Trump, although it would be a delay tactic, I suppose. I mean, apparently, like, everybody's talking about the trial right now. Donald Trump facing down, 91 felonies or whatever it is. And apparently, from what I heard, Donald Trump was making weird faces and gestures at one of the jurors. Yeah, okay, NBC News. Judge in hush money trial. It should really be fraud trial, not hush money trial. Admonishes Trump after his behavior. The first 7 jurors were selected for Trump's hush money trial Tuesday amid a battle over prospective jurors' old Facebook posts and calls to lock him up, and the judge's warning that the former president should not try to intimidate the panelists who will be deciding his fate. Tried to intimidate the panelists. I will not have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom. I want to make this crystal clear. Juan Merchan told Trump and his lawyer, Todd Blanche, outside the jurors' presence. Merchan told Blanche his client was audibly saying something in the direction of the juror while she was 12 feet away from your client. Trump was talking to the jury. What the hell is happening right now? Anyway, Don Jr. is, of course, talking about it. He's got his own ideas.
You'll never know. If it was someone who even remotely conservative, I'm sure they would have thrown him off. The Democrats, they're evil and they're smart. They'll show up there in a MAGA hat and pretend.
Yeah, if somebody is even mildly conservative, they should throw them off of the jury. And if they're mildly to the left, they should throw them off the jury. They should be allowed to, at the very least. You need somebody who is capable of being impartial. It doesn't matter if they're conservative or liberal or whatever. It's irrelevant. What matters is, are you capable of being impartial? Are you capable of judging the facts as they're presented to you? And are you ready for the onslaught that's coming? Because Donald Trump is absolutely going to find the names of those jurors, leak them, and threaten them, and help maybe even kill them. I don't know, or have them killed. Like, point people in their direction and say, this person, blah, 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 he's not thinking straight and something needs to happen to him or whatever. And suddenly, just like that, juror is gone. I mean, we've seen this kind of thing before with Trump. Ruby Freeman is one example, and her daughter, I think. They were election workers. One passed a ginger mint to the other, and Donald Trump demonized them for months. They got bomb threats. The FBI told them they're not safe where they are right now. They need to move. I mean, it's insane. So the jurors need to be prepared for that, unfortunately. I don't care if someone's liberal or conservative. They need to be able to put their biases aside for this case. That's it.
You'll never know. If it was someone who even remotely conservative, I'm sure they would have thrown him off. The Democrats, they're evil and they're smart. They'll show up there in a MAGA hat and pretend they're conservative and unbiased, and then...
Well, I mean, in a MAGA hat. Why does he say MAGA? In a MAGA hat and pretend they're unbiased. This is a process called voir dire. You can strike any jurors that you want, basically. I think each side can, ask any questions of any jurors, and they can strike up to 10. They can say, we don't want them. And you don't need a reason. You just say, no, I don't want them. I don't want that person in the pool. And that ostensibly is supposed to give you the best chance of ending up with like an impartial jury, as impartial as you can get. And I think if there's a legitimate issue that you raise, why you think that this person couldn't be impartial, you can strike more than just 10, if I'm remembering correctly.
They'll go in there and they'll do the bidding of the fascists, the Democrat Party.
So I guess people with MAGA hats are going to pretend to be Trump supporters when they're really on the left and biased against Trump. And they're going to do, what was it?
The bidding of the fascists,
do the bidding of the fascists, the Democrats. Right. Totally. Absolutely. That checks out. Get help, Don. Get help, Shane. Literally calling for jury nullification. I mentioned that term earlier, but didn't explain it in full. If you're unfamiliar, there's a CGP Grey video on jury nullification. I believe saying the words jury nullification while you're in a jury pool or being, vetted voir dire, or you're sitting on the jury or whatever, I believe saying jury nullification can get you put in jail. But the idea is, they're guilty, but you're going to vote not guilty anyway to help them. It was a big problem in the South in the between the 18 and the 1900s. A member of the KKK is put on trial for lynching a black person, and the jurors commit, I don't know what else you'd call it, commit jury nullification because they like him. They like what he did. They think it was the right thing, lynching a black person or burning a cross on somebody's lawn. That's what this whole thing is about. They're calling for jury nullification. These two guys are. Absolutely insane, man. I feel for those jurors. I hope they come out of it alive and safe and okay. Honestly, no matter what. Disturbing as it gets, man. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Next up, a few years ago, somebody at a Charlie Kirk rally asked when it would be time to pull out the guns and attack leftists. He condemned it at the time because he said it made them look bad. Let's see how he feels now. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description. This is Charlie Kirk on the left. If you're unfamiliar, he's the leader of TP USA, Turning Point USA. Goes to colleges, college campuses, gets people to join his little groups and stuff. He's a complete right-wing extremist nutcase. Listen to what he had to say recently. Listen to what he's up to right now. This is from mid-April 2024, I believe.
In the Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon.
Yeah.
The Civil Rights Act. He wants to repeal the Civil Rights Act.
And that's the reality. And so we just need to fundamentally relook at a lot of our civil rights legal regime. And without that, even though I don't think it's sort of the magic bullet, but I think without that, there's limits to the amount of progress we're going to make.
Let's talk about discourse and dialogue.
How can you possibly be against the Civil Rights Act? The act that protects classes of people. You can't discriminate against somebody based on race or gender, sexuality, or whatever. What are I think there are 7 protected classes, right? Yeah, so it's Title VII. It prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. That's it. How does that hurt white people exactly? Did he say white people it's being used as a bludgeon against white people? What? Black people are allowed to work as chemists, and that's hurting white people. What the hell are you talking about? Usually when somebody has this backwards, bizarre position on something, they come up with some reasonable explanation for why, right? So you want to lower taxes on the rich. Well, you're going to come up with an explanation why. Well, if the rich get tax cuts and they're, it's the trickle down and we're going to see the benefits of it and blah, blah, blah. Even though all of it is completely false, there's still ostensibly a reason. What reason is Charlie Kirk giving for hating the Civil Rights Act? None. There's there isn't a veneer of reality to this.
At a lot of our civil rights legal regime. And without that, even though I don't think it's sort of the magic bullet, but I think without that, there's limits to the amount of progress we're going to make.
Let's talk about discourse.
There's a limit to the amount of progress we're going to make as long as the Civil Rights Act exists. What does he mean by progress exactly, do you think? Do you think when he says progress, he means pushing black people into ghettos and banning them, segregation? Do you think he means segregating by race again?
And dialogue. This topic would have been even more forbidden 4 or 5 years ago, but it's now becoming in more and more mainstream circles.
Like, nothing is forbidden. You're allowed to say anything you want. You're just a scumbag. People can see you for the fucking scumbag that you are. See how that works? Yeah, you like the duck? If you want to be viewed as a fucking scumbag, then be my guest. Be a fucking scumbag to your heart's content.
More forbidden 4 or 5 years ago, but it's now becoming in more and more mainstream circles. Is that because the problem is becoming worse, but our side is more courageous to confront?
What problem? What problem are you talking about? And what do you mean our side is becoming more courageous? Which side is that? The side that is made up of Nazis? Or what? The side that hates Jews and black people and wants to force them into ghettos? What side? Who are you talking about? Charlie Kirk is an incrementalist in a lot of ways. He takes incremental steps, small steps, slowly but surely, and eventually he gets where he wants to be. Now, I don't think that there's a limit to how far he's willing to go. Honestly, I think he's ready to go full-blown Hitler if he can get there. I say that without a hint of irony. Listen to what happened here on this TP USA event, I believe is what it was. No, it's Freedom Night in America. That's what this is. Freedom Night in America. Listen to what he had to say. This is mid-March 2024.
Hey, Charlie. So I'm trying to figure out why churches are sitting on the fence, and you kind of sit on the fence. Well, we know where you stand all the time.
Thank you.
And I feel like that so many churches, and I was raised that there was a sin of omission, that if you're quiet and you don't speak up against something, that's just as bad as the action. So,
well, people in churches are more than free to speak up about whatever the hell they want. No one is telling church members they cannot speak about this or that or whatever. The rule or technically it's the Johnson Amendment. It's part of U.S. tax code. But the tradition, at the very least, is that church leaders don't get up on the pulpit and preach about politics. That's the tradition. But the church members and the pastor should absolutely be involved in politics, 100%. They're just like this guy. When I say they, I mean this guy and Charlie Kirk and the pastor that's about to answer the question want to turn churches into militias, little militias. They want to create what they call the Black Robe Regiment, which is a fabricated term created by David Barton, as far as I can tell, in the mid-90s, where he believes incorrectly that pastors in the 1700s who were fighting in the Revolutionary War would preach. They'd stand up there and they'd give their sermon about hating the British, and then they'd take their black robes off and they would take their church to target practice and give them all AR-15s or whatever the hell. That's a complete fabrication in the mind of Christian nationalists, but that's what these people are dreaming of. That's what people like this guy right here asking the question wants. And the fact that churches are not doing that is them sitting on the fence, quote unquote.
Speak up against something that's just as bad as the action. So what do we do to get churches to come together and
militarize? Just say it. Militarize. What do we do to get churches to come together and militarize against people to the left of hunting the homeless for sport?
Phil, do you
Make
want
a
to start
change.
with this?
I think
this guy's a pastor, I believe, on the left here, on stage with Charlie, if you're listening.
I think the challenge is it's the pastors. It's not the people. I hate to say it. I hate to blame my crowd, but it's true. If I think it was Canterbury Tales where it said, if the gold rusts, what will become of the...
Dude, this is like completely unrelated, but has anybody ever noticed? I know that Charlie Kirk has a small face, but has anybody ever really looked at the dude's ankles? Look at this guy's ankles. Look at how tiny these puppies are. These are really small ankles proportionate to the rest of him, right? Is it just me? Dainty little ankles over here. Okay. Sorry. Keep going.
If the gold rusts, what will become of the iron? And if the priest fail, what will become of the people?
If the gold rusts, what will become of the iron? If the pastor rusts, what will become of the people? Is that what he said?
Iron. And if the priest fail, what will become of the people?
Oh, if the priests fail.
And so what we have a situation where we have a lot of pastors, number one, who don't know the Word of God.
Really? You think there are pastors out there that don't know the Bible? Do you know that there's actually like a lot that goes into understanding modern theology? I feel that I have the equivalent of a seminary degree by now after talking about this and learning about the beliefs, after all these years. But you learn real things in seminary school. Like, you'll learn about the I am statements, how many statements that Jesus made that began with the words I am, and where they're found and what they mean, and theologically what the implications are behind them, and all kinds of other things. If a pastor has gone to seminary or is even in the position of pastor in the first place, it's likely that they do know the Bible. But okay. They just disagree with your interpretation, your backwards, hateful interpretation. That's all.
And so what we have a situation where we have a lot of pastors, number one, who don't know the Word of God. They're more equipped in 5 ways to be happy.
What? What does that mean?
They really are. And the Word of God is clear and straightforward. And so if there's...
No, it's not. See, that's the problem. The Bible isn't clear and straightforward. Any moral supposition that it hands down is reversed a chapter later. There is no way to read the Bible without cherry picking it. Can you get into heaven by working toward that goal? Or do you get into heaven by accepting Jesus? Or do you get into heaven by loving the poor? What does it take to get into heaven? Should you hate gay people or should you love everybody? Love your neighbor as yourself. Should you shun or not shun? It's all mixed up and confusing, and there are verses in every single chapter that contradict some other chapter. So I'm not even being hyperbolic here. Yeah, here you go, right here. This is a really useful tool. Okay, so I just created a quick link for it. So it should be owenmorgan.com, not /book, because that'll take you to my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, and my other book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses. That's not where we're headed right now, though. We're going to owenmorgan.com/bibviz. That's it. So this is what's called bibviz. I don't know who put this together. I don't remember. But you can hover over any of these lines here, and it'll tell you which contradictions are which. Let's just pick a random contradiction here. Does God help in times of need? 1 Samuel 8, Psalm 10, Psalm 22, Isaiah 1:15, Isaiah 45, Ezekiel 20. They all say no. Habakkuk and Hosea. Psalm 22, Psalm 46, Psalm 145, and Nahum 1 say, yes, he does help in times of need. Contradiction after contradiction after contradiction. Is it good to be foolish? Yes. 1 Corinthians 1:21, 1 Corinthians 3:18, 1 Corinthians 4:10. It is not good to be foolish. Psalm 5:5, Ephesians 5:15. For every moral precept, every moral value you find in the Bible, there are 10 more verses that contradict it just about. I mean, maybe that's a little hyperbolic, but I don't know. I can't even tell if that's hyperbole or not at this point. Anyway, keep listening here. owenmorgan.com/bibviz if you want to see that yourself.
They really are. And the Word of God is clear and straightforward. And so if there's going to be anything, don't pray for Christians, pray for pastors. Pray that they either get right or get dead. I mean, that's just... Do
you catch that? Pray that pastors either get right, which means militarize their church, give their church members AR-15s after service, and teach them how to shoot. And during the service, talk about hating Democrats and hating gay people and hating this and that and blah, 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 blah. And if they don't do those things, they should be dead. Pray for their death. That is psychotic.
Get right or get dead. I mean, that's just... Well, it's true. It's true. That's exactly what happened in the Old Testament. When Hophni and Phinehas, the sons of Eli, brought strange fire before the Lord, God brought judgment on them when they tried to use the Ark of the Covenant as a holy tool.
Dude, what does this have to do with anything? Why are you going on about the Ark of the Covenant right now?
To win the battle.
So what? What does that have to do with it? I don't understand.
And then that was where the daughter named their son Ichabod, which means the Lord has forsaken, or the glory of God is gone.
Okay, and that justifies praying for people's death? I'm so lost right now. What are you trying to communicate?
And so you have to pray very specifically, God, you need to either remove or change leadership in order for the churches of America to be changed.
I think God likes things the way that they are right now. I think that God is so powerful that if he chose, he could put Trump into office and remove Biden, or prevent Biden from ever winning the election. Or, if you really want to go that deep down the rabbit hole, prevent Biden from stealing the election, quote unquote. He could have prevented any of this stuff from happening. And if he really wanted Trump to be in office, and he really wanted churches to militarize and hand out AR-15s to each of their church members, I think that's what would happen. I think that that's what we would see.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of expound on that. Support and pray for the good pastors. Pastor Phil, Pastor Jack Hibbs, Pastor John Rand.
Okay, all of the people that he's naming are absolutely psychotic. So that's what Charlie Kirk's up to. If you remember, he's not the only one praying for the deaths of people, though. There's something called imprecatory prayers. It's a term that's flying around now. Imprecatory prayers. It means praying for the death of your enemies, praying for the death of people that you don't like. And here's Lauren Boebert expanding upon that. Expounding? Is that what Charlie Kirk just said? Expounding upon it? Here is Lauren Boebert praying for the death of Biden. By the way, this clip is from February 7th, 2023.
Glory to God. Well, I wasn't going to go there.
I bet. Wasn't going to go there.
Praise the Lord. I hope that blesses somebody. But I do want you to know I pray for our president. Psalm 109:8 says, may his days be few and another take his office.
She's literally saying she's praying for Biden's death. By the way, so some people will get this, some people won't, but I have to talk about it every time I talk about Lauren Boebert. This is an artist's recreation of the night that Lauren Boebert met her husband. Oh, I love it to death. Okay, sorry. The point is that these people are now praying for people's deaths. When I say these people, I mean Christian nationalists in positions of authority. Lauren Boebert and, of course, Jack Hibbs, Charlie Kirk, and whoever he had on earlier. A whole bunch of people. Hank Kunneman, Gene Bailey, Kenneth Copeland, all of these people are praying for the deaths of their enemies, or at the very least, the networks that they appear upon have people praying for their enemies' deaths. That's nuts. Would you expect any less, though, from a group of people who literally put this banner up? We are all domestic terrorists. This is the 2023 CPAC event, I believe. Conservative Political Action Conference 2022. Yeah, this is from August 6, 2022. We are all domestic terrorists. We know. Thank you for clarifying. Thanks for acknowledging that you're aware of that also. That makes my life a lot easier, actually. But yeah, we knew that a long time ago. Check this clip out. You may or may not remember it. It's pretty old. This one is from late October 2021. And it's Charlie Kirk taking questions from the audience. You remember at the beginning of the video, the pastor said he was praying for people's deaths, right? Now, listen to this questioner.
At this point, we're living under a corporate and medical fascism.
No, we're not. Get your head out of your...
This is tyranny. When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal?
Who is they? Are they in the room with you right now? Nobody stole any elections. What the hell is wrong with you?
Saying it like that, I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
So
that's insane.
No, I'm going to denounce that. I'm going to tell you why. Because you're playing into all their plans, and they're trying to make you do this. That's okay. Just hear me out. You started with a compliment, so at least give me a little bit. They are trying to provoke you and everyone here. They are trying to make you do something.
Who is they? I still don't know who they is. Is it anybody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport? I'm not in favor of that. Am I included in they? Am I included in that crowd? And I find it fascinating that a few years ago, Charlie Kirk didn't think it was politically advantageous to be at the point where he could tell people it's time to pick up the guns and do something and open fire on people. But now he seems to be there. Now he seems to be supporting the pastor that he just sat on stage with, who said, we need to pray for these people's deaths.
That will be violent, that will justify a takeover of your freedoms and liberties, the likes.
Oh my God, it's just a joke. I love how he's denouncing it, not because it's a bad idea, but because it will be used by the left, i.e., it'll be used by people like me, to criticize Charlie Kirk. He seems to like, I haven't heard him denounce the idea yet. Did I miss it?
To make you do something that will be violent, that will justify a takeover of your freedoms and liberties, the likes of which we have never seen. We are close to have, we are close to have momentum to be able to get this country back on a trajectory using the peaceful means that we have at us. So to answer your question, and I just think it's, overly blunt, we have to be the ones that do not play into the violent aims and ambitions of the other side.
Right. The other side, people on the left have violent aims and ambitions. Absolutely. Totally. I guess we're just going to ignore all of the FBI reports and the NSA reports showing that violent extremism is disproportionately coming from the right. Just going to pretend that's not happening. Okay.
They fear, let me say this very clearly, they fear us holding the line with self-control and discipline, taking over school board meetings. They're the ones that are willing to use federal force against us. And I know that people get fired up. We are living under fascism.
I love that he's so brazenly saying we're living under fascism when he is literally the fascist.
Under this tyranny. But if you think for a second that they're not wanting you to all of a sudden get that next level where they're going to say, okay, we need Patriot Act 2.0. If you think that, Waco is bad, wait till you see what they want to do next. What I'm saying is that we have a very fragile balance right now at our current time where we must exhaust every single peaceful mean possible. They want that. Why?
Who is they?
Why would we give that to them? Follow-up point?
I just want to know, where's the line?
The line is when we exhaust every single one of our state ability to push back against what's happening. We haven't even started. We have not even started the process of having Idaho or states like Idaho get back to self-government as our founders envisioned. They gave us.
Okay, the founders did not envision it that way, obviously. They envisioned a strong federal government. There was a whole thing about it. Anyway, I love how he's like denouncing fascism while like literally being the fascist. Listen to this dude repeat Nazi propaganda. This one is from mid-March 2024.
There's an interesting quote from Winston Churchill, who was the greatest man of the 20th century.
Okay.
Said, if the United States, quote, would have minded its own business, peace would have been made with Germany. And there would have been no collapse in Russia leading to communism, no breakdown of government in Italy, followed by fascism, and Nazism never would have gained ascendancy in Germany.
That is not true. It's fake. It's a fake quote. Winston Churchill never said that. It's Nazi propaganda. It was propaganda intended to diminish the United States, to degrade them, and to erode the relationship between America and Britain. So who's the fascist, Charlie? Literally praying for people's deaths and quoting Nazi propaganda. What the hell is happening? Jesus Christ, dude. Charlie Kirk has problems. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Oh, yeah, and tell me, are his legs unusually tiny, or is it just me? What's up with those legs, anyway? Let's see if we can get a shot of them side by side. There we go. What's going on with those bad boys? What is this? I want to know what this is about. Tell me what you think in the comments. Why are they not arrested? Stochastic terrorism is not illegal. The United States has very strong free speech laws. It's hard to get arrested for things that you say. There are only a few things that you can say directly that'll get you arrested. One of them is talking about how you want to take out the president, basically. That's against the law to say. You cannot say that you want to do that. The whole fire in a crowded theater thing, that's actually not in the Constitution or in anything, to my knowledge. It's just an example. Fire in a crowded theater is an example of inciting harm directly and immediately. Like, you have a group of 20 people that are following you and listening to you, and you're walking down the road, and you instruct those people to open fire on a shop, and they do. That would be enough for incitement to violence, probably, and your free speech likely isn't covered under that case. They may be threatening violence, but it's vague enough that it's still safe, I believe. There's something called the paradox of tolerance, right? We shouldn't tolerate the intolerant. Think about it like democracy. The democratic thing would be to allow anybody to run for any reason, anywhere, anytime, whatever. But to preserve democracy, we have to prevent people from running who want to destroy democracy. The paradox of tolerance is similar. To preserve tolerance in society, we have to prevent, or we have to not tolerate intolerance. So people who wish death upon others or who deny the Holocaust or whatever are silenced by the state. You know, they're not put in jail, but they're just like not allowed to be on social media, for example. Like the government will instruct Twitter to block certain tweets in Germany if they're like pro-Hitler, for example, that kind of thing. Europe fell on the side of not tolerating the intolerant after World War II. America fell on the side of tolerating the intolerant, being okay with it, and allowing anybody to say anything at any time for any reason. So that's why we're in this position that we're in right now, in my opinion. Next up, there's been a bizarre right-wing fascination with furries for who knows how long. Let's talk about the origins and follow the thread clear through to today. Where did this come from, and why are people still talking about it? We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description. This is Donald Trump Jr., Don Jr. for short. I'm sure people probably heard of the guy. He made a comment on furries, bizarrely. Listen to this.
The furry is like the trans community. They're going to be totally protected. They can bark at people. They can distract it because they think they're dogs and cats. We have to accommodate their insanity. Now, if someone says something or pushes back, I guarantee you, the normal person that's trying to get an education, that's trying to learn in school, trying to be left alone from people who'd otherwise be certifiably insane if it wasn't for 2024.
Certifiably insane.
That person's the one that's going to get in trouble, not the idiot. Okay?
Dude, what's up with this guy's teeth? They're unnaturally white. It's disturbing and weird. Furries do not believe that they are literally cats and dogs and wolves and whatevers. That is factually incorrect. What you're thinking of is otherkin. And otherkin is just a meme. It's not real. It started on 4chan and was spread around. And I guess a couple of people came out of the woodwork who claim to really believe that they have the soul of a dog and they're trapped in a human body or some other nonsense. But it's just a meme. It's garbage. It's not true. It's fake. But, you know, Don Jr. would fall for that kind of thing if anybody would, wouldn't he? Furries are just people who like to dress up and cosplay, basically, you know? Like imagine playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You know, one of the top games of 2024, I believe. Or Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom, top game of 2023, I think. Imagine dressing up as Link or Riju if you're a chick. Got the swords and all that junk. Imagine dressing up as Cloud or Aerith. Yes, I know it's Aerith. It's always going to be Aerith to me. It's just cosplaying. It's just fun. It's just people dressing up and having a good time. Meeting up with other people who like dressing up. That's it. This whole sexual component thing isn't real. There's some subset of the population who is into that, I guess. But by and large, furries are just people who like dressing up and having a good time. That's it. Just like everybody else. I'm sure this guy likes going and hanging out with friends too. He probably dresses up for it also. Anyway, keep listening here.
Be certifiably insane if it wasn't for 2024. That person's the one that's going to get in trouble. Not.
I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, I feel like he's lost his train of thought and now he's just putting words next to each other because he doesn't know which word should come next.
24, that person's the one that's going to get in trouble, not the idiot. Okay?
I'm lost. I'm sorry, man. I have no clue. Anyway, I wanted to trace this meme back. I wanted to figure out where this started originally. The answer is Lisa Hansen. Joe Rogan here, though, he repeated it, and he is as litigious as they come, honestly. It's such a pain in the dealing with Joe Rogan's copyright team. It drives me insane. But you know what? It's necessary, I feel, to talk about Joe Rogan's role in this, so we're going to. October 12th, 2022, Rogan comes out on his show and spreads this lie that furries, or what they really mean to say is otherkin, which is a fake 4chan meme. Otherkin or furries are coming out and trying to use litter boxes at school. It's fake.
There's kids, ready for this? My friend, his wife is a school teacher.
I'm not even convinced of that.
And she works at a school that had to install a litter box in the girls' room because there is a girl who's a furry who identifies as an animal. And
that's otherkin, again, not furry. Furries are just people who dress up that way because they have fun. That's it. Like dressing up like Link from Zelda, or dressing up like Zelda from Zelda, or dressing up like Cloud or Barrett or whatever. Just having fun.
There's a girl who's a furry who identifies as an animal, and her mother badgered the school until they agreed to put a litter box in one of the stalls.
Because this is just completely made up. I'm sure I don't even need to say that. There's absolutely zero evidence for this. There's no school that's come out and said that this happened. There are no pictures. There was a picture circulating for a minute, but it turned out that the picture that was taken was at an airport for where people like let their pets use litter boxes at airports. So there was a litter box in a public bathroom for pets at the airport. That's what the picture was. There's no evidence whatsoever that this has ever happened, that anyone's even requested this. But Rogan, having his audience of millions and millions, going to come out here and shoot from the hip anyway. Why not, right?
So this girl goes into the litter room, or to the girls' room, and urinates or whatever. I don't know if she poops in it. That's pretty gross.
Dude, why are you getting so specific about this?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you could teach your cat, by the way, here's the thing. If you could teach your cat to use the toilet, you would.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want a box of in your house. It's the worst. I've had cats my whole life. It's the worst thing about having cats. You got to clean.
You can actually do that. You can toilet train a cat. It's hard to do, I understand. It involves putting the litter box, like, basically in the toilet, or getting a special litter box that sits inside of the toilet. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. Maybe I should do that. Anyway, it sits inside the toilet, and eventually you get to the point where you can just pull the litter box out of the toilet, and the cat will just use the toilet. They can't flush, of course, but it's better than having to clean up after a cat and having this litter box and everything else.
That box of every day.
Yeah.
Like, it's the greatest thing about dogs. They go outside.
Anyway, Joe Rogan had a role in spreading the disinformation, of course. And it spread like wildfire. This is probably the strangest and most hilarious and sad clip that I've seen on the subject from Andrew Womack. This is him talking about knowing somebody who knows somebody who knew a furry or something.
A friend of mine in Illinois actually knows a teacher that comes to school as a furry and wears ears and a tail and uses a litter box at the front of the classroom to relieve himself.
How could he possibly believe this? He can't, right? He doesn't actually believe this, does he? Does he really think that there's somebody at a school using a litter box at the front of a classroom? If he's like, is he lying or is he just a gullible fool? I don't know. It's got to be one or the other, right? I mean, furries have been bizarrely the target of vitriol on the right for a while now. The right's been turning against them for, God. Well, I mean, some of these clips are from 2022. A lot of this is from 2022. But, you know, I guess conservatives have kind of moved on from the subject by and large until recently when Dunn Jr. picked it up. But what is their obsession with furries? This one is from late December 2022, so almost 2023.
I'm seeing a lot of occult, a lot of witchcraft, even students with pentagrams on their book bags. I'm seeing that all over the state. I've heard about that when I was campaigning, but then I'm still seeing that, you know, the furry movement with the kids dressing up in you know, as other animals and identifying as an animal instead of.
That's not what a furry is. Have you looked into this at all? Like, look at Julie Green's reaction on the right here to this.
You know, as other animals and identifying as an animal instead of as a human, it's paving the way for bestiality.
Paving the way for bestiality. To just dress up and hang out with your friends and go to conventions and stuff. That is paving the way for bestiality. Get a grip on reality, guys. Seriously. This is insane. This is actually the source of it right here. This is from Michigan. This is Lisa Hansen, and it was posted by the New York Post originally. Let me see. It was late January 2022 when this clip originally came out, and it was at a school board meeting, I believe.
It was addressed by a child a couple months ago that they are put in an environment where there are kids that identify as a furry, a cat or a dog, whatever.
Okay, it was brought up by a child. Which child? Who? Tell me what you're talking about specifically. Hell, which school specifically? Can you tell me which school? Maybe which teacher? Let's narrow it down a little. We don't have to name the kid, but let's get a little more specific. No, she's not going to get specific. You know why? It's fake.
As a furry, a cat or a dog, whatever. And so yesterday I heard that at least one of our schools in our town has in one of the unisex bathrooms, a litter box.
Which one? Which school? She said at least one of the schools in our district. Which school specifically? These are weasel words. Means she's gesturing to some vague, ambiguous authority out there, or some thing that that doesn't exist in any real way, or that she can't prove, or that she's not going to specify. It's just they, them, some school in the district. She never actually names anybody. Weasel words. When you hear weasel words and the person has not specified the source, don't trust it. When you hear somebody say they, be skeptical, unless they've specified who they is.
The unisex bathrooms, a litter box for the kids that identify as cats. And I am really disturbed by that. And I will do some more investigation on that. I know what's going on.
She did literally zero investigation because it's fake.
Some more investigation on that. I know what's going on nationwide. I know it is.
No, it's not.
Part of the agenda that's being pushed. I don't
What agenda?
Even want to understand it. But I think that people need to be aware of it, because I am really upset as a parent that my child is put in an environment like that.
Get a grip on reality, Lisa. She started a countrywide panic, tantamount to the satanic panic, almost, The trans panic is bad, really bad. And this is part of the trans panic, honestly. You know, trans people are not furries. Furries are not trans. Otherkin aren't even trans. This fake 4chan meme, it's not real, and they aren't trans. But conservative extremists like Lisa Hansen here are grouping it all together and view it all as the same. So the trans panic, I would say, is almost as bad as the satanic panic, but oh my God, was the satanic panic bad. Bad doesn't even begin to describe the satanic panic.
A child is put in an environment like that, and you know, I'm all for creativity and imagination, but when someone lives in a fantasy world and expects other people to go along with it, I have a problem with that. So I'm just putting that out there. I will investigate more.
Any investigation at all would be fantastic, like literally any. If she had done any investigation, she would have found that this whole thing's made up. In fact, she's probably the one that made it up, honestly. She was the source. This event right here was the source of a lot of the nonsense. This was the source of the entire panic of furries, you know, dressing up and using litter boxes and blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, Joe Rogan came back and he had to apologize because it was fabricated. The whole thing was fake. And everybody knew that it was fake if they were on the left or just normal. But people on the right believed him. In fact, nearly his entire audience believed him because he stated it as fact. My friend's wife works at a school that installed a litter box. It's pretty on the nose, pretty on point. This is Michael Shermer. He's a famous atheist, the creator of Skeptic Magazine or something like that. Mad respect for the work that he's done and for the debates that he has had with some real nutcases. But Shermer is a nutcase in his own right. Shermer's actually terrible. He's like a right-wing crazy also. It's bizarre. Anyway, just check this out. This was Rogan's response after finally realizing that he was completely full of it.
Right? Or the kitty litter boxes in schools from last week. You know, that got spread around as a meme because it kind of fit the conservative view of, you know, liberals and their confusion about gender and sex and
But the kitty litter boxes is a weird one.
It is weird. It's it's more like an urban legend.
I fed into that, and I should probably clarify that a little bit. I have a friend, and my friend's wife is a school teacher. And she told him that there was discussions in the school that a mother wanted to put a litter box in one of the bathrooms.
I don't believe you. I'm sorry. I don't believe you. You know what? Maybe it's not Joe Rogan that's like the weak link in this chain. I don't know. Because we're like 3 degrees of separation off now. We have Joe Rogan, that's 1, has a friend, that's 2, whose wife, that's 3, knows people at the school, that's 4, who talked to a woman, that's 5, who wanted a litter box in the classroom. We're 5 degrees of separation away from this conversation. How can we even be sure this is real? How can we be sure that one of those 5 links on the chain wasn't a weak link or wasn't like fabricating the whole thing? How can we be sure Joe wasn't? Even assuming Joe was an honest actor. We have to make room for the possibility that one of the other 5 or one of the other 4 was making it up.
And he told me this, and I talked about it on here, and then people were saying that's not true. It's an internet rumor. So I contacted.
Yeah, it's an internet rumor. It's BS.
I contacted him again, and I said, tell me exactly what she said, and contact her and find out. She no longer works at that school. She works for another school.
Well, that's convenient, huh?
She contacted the other school. She didn't get a response.
Wow, how convenient is that? She conveniently doesn't work at the school anymore and asked them and couldn't get a response from them. Huh, weird, right? Almost as if she made the whole thing up all along and came up with some ridiculous excuse to get herself out of the fire.
School. She contacted the other school. She didn't get a response. I don't think they actually did it. I think there was discussions about doing it because there was one particularly wacky mother.
No, I don't believe it for a second. Because otherkin are fake. Otherkin, people who believe they have the soul of a dog or whatever, it's fake. It was fabricated by 4chan. It's pretend, okay? Nobody believes that. Of course, since the meme started, there have been a couple of people who made the claim. Just like there's some guy who gets off every time a balloon pops, or some dude who married a mannequin or whatever. I'm sure there are plenty of weirdos and nutcases out there who do stuff like that. But this is not a problem that exists anywhere, to any degree. I don't hear them complaining about balloon guy or mannequin dude.
But it doesn't seem that there's any proof that they put a litter box in there. The reason why I was interested in it and willing to entertain it was there was about...
Because you're a sucker and you want to buy into the right-wing framing. That's why. Just admit you are a sucker, Joe.
To entertain it was there was about 10 years or so ago, we went to, there was a UFC in Pittsburgh. And when we went there, as we landed, we were driving from the airport to the hotel, we see all these people with mascot outfits on. We're like, what is going on? And we talked to this guy, and he said, there's a furry convention in town.
Okay, cool. People having a good time, cosplaying, dressing up, and hanging out, and doing all kinds of stuff, listening to speeches, and picking up, ribbons and things like that. Yeah, sounds great. Okay, go on.
Right. And I said, wow, this is crazy. So they all decided to get together. So they were at bars and on the streets, and it was like a get-together. They used to do it in San Diego, but at the time San Diego was a little bit more conservative, and they were having a hard time doing it, so they moved it to Pittsburgh. And this was the year they moved it to Pittsburgh. This is according to him. So we check into the...
conferences commonly move all over the place. Pittsburgh, Arizona, Texas. I've gone to American Atheist conferences in all of those places that I just listed. Usually they're never in the same place. But okay, go on.
Pittsburgh. This is according to him. So we check into the hotel. The hotel, the guy who was working the front desk was saying how crazy it was. That these folks were asking for their food to be delivered in bowls on the ground so they could eat it like animals.
Okay, so how many degrees of separation are we now from this? We have Joe, that's one, who talked to some guy at the front desk, that's two, who, he's not delivering food, is he? Talked to the restaurant guy who delivers food, that's three, who talked to the furry person, four, who wanted their food in bowls. How many? Have you ever played telephone? You sit there, you're on one end in, first grade or something, and the teacher gives you a phrase to say. It's like, one sentence long, and you whisper it to the guy next to you, and then they whisper it to the person next to them, and all the way down the line until the last person says what they heard. And it's complete garbled nonsense by the end of it. We're 4 degrees of separation off here. Even if I assume Joe isn't lying through his teeth. It's an absolutely ridiculous notion to think that this is a believable story to any degree. I've never heard of anybody ever doing this, and I know the furry community better than anybody who is not a furry. Just because I'm an artist. That's how my channel started. That's how I exploded. Through art. I used to draw stuff. I used to do line art in my videos while I talked. Furries are a massive part of my community. They always have been. I've literally never in my entire life ever heard of that.
So they could eat it like animals. And I'm like, that is crazy. And then he said
I can't believe Michael Shermer isn't calling him out for this.
They asked for a litter box in the lobby. Now, they didn't put a litter box into the lobby, but someone, according to this man, asked him for a litter box. I'm like, that is crazy. So I went...
It's just fabricated. Furries don't use litter boxes.
And did a deep dive online. I went to forums where furries go, because I was trying to find, is this a thing? Do they like to use litter boxes? Out of all of my searching, I could only find one poster, one guy who said he had used a litter box.
Wow. So one nutcase. As I said, there's a guy who gets off to popping balloons with needles. there's a guy who marries a mannequin, and I guess Joe did a deep dive search on the dark web to find the one guy who uses litter boxes. Good job, Joe.
So this one person who was saying that he thought it was kinky and he'd like to use it, he, they, it, them, whatever.
This is completely fabricated. Are you serious? It's like he's continuing or it's like he's perpetuating the nonsense as he's debunking it.
It, them, whatever, like to use a litter box. So that was all I could find. So is that something that people do, or is it something that people talk about doing? Because
No, it's not. It's something that you talk about other people doing. No one is doing that.
It's fun. I don't know.
It's fun?
But one of the things that I found about these furries is like it's sexual in some sort of weird way.
There is a small subculture of furries who are into it for the whole weird sex thing, and the vast majority of furries don't want anything to do with that. They want to cut that out of their community and kind of ban it by and large because it makes everybody look bad, basically. So yeah, I suppose Joe stumbled upon some weird little kink website or something where some people were talking about some sexual stuff. Wow, good job, Joe. Those are hard to find, right? Anyway, that's Joe Rogan. He's responsible for a lot of this disinformation, and it's shameless. And I cannot even believe that Michael Shermer didn't push back on all of the BS that Joe just spewed on that show. This one, by the way, this video that we're watching here, this one was from early November 2022. Lisa Hansen started spreading her nonsense late January 2022. So all of 2022, 2023, and now 2024, we've got people like even Don Jr. talking about furries who believe that they're like an animal rather than a human. Just fabricated garbage. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. All fandoms have a sexual aspect to them. Comic fans, yep. Star Trek fans, yep. Anime fans, we don't talk about that. Yeah, that's good. It's a good point, Nerico. I appreciate that. You're absolutely right. Every fandom has a sexual component to it. Everything does. That's just the nature of people. That's just what people do. That's who they are. That's how they operate. First time in reality? I think it's wild how many kinks people have, but why is one worse than the other? It's because of the kids. But why is one worse than the other? It's because of the kids. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that children should be involved in kink anything at all to any degree ever. I think that they need to discover that stuff on their own when they're old enough, when they're mentally and emotionally mature enough to discover it on their own. Yeah, just leave children out of it, and we're good to go. And children aren't involved in any of this stuff anyway. There are a lot of kids who are involved in the furry fandom stuff because it's fun. There is no sexual component to it for children. They're just, they like wolves, and they dress up like wolves, and they draw wolves, and they talk about wolves a lot and stuff. What's wrong with people having interests? I don't get it. Why are these people so obsessed with what other people enjoy doing in their spare time? Seriously. I met that one guy who gets off every time a balloon pops. He wanted me to dress up as a cowboy and blow up balloons. Not my thing, but he was harmless. Yeah, I mean, people generally are harmless, who cares? Let him get off to balloon popping. I don't give a shit. Go nuts. If that's your thing, then do it. Don't let me stop your fun. People are just stupid, man. People get bent out of shape over absolutely nothing. I don't get why right-wing extremists are so, infuriated by people just living their lives and being who they are and doing what they want. Jesus Christ, man. Pull it together. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this, and Telltale Reads, where I read books by televangelists and others. I release everything in parts, but every part stands independently of the last, so you can jump in anywhere and I'll make sure it makes sense. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of all my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything. All links are in the description. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.